Evening everyone, and welcome to Cherries Red Army YouTube channel. I'm Kirk. It's Friday, it's another match preview, and your football weekend starts right here. Tomorrow night, AFC Bournemouth take on their next fixture in the Championship, and that is Norwich away at Carrow Road. And we're going to dissect that game and have a look at it in more detail with two more guests. You know you can interact throughout the show and take part. Let us know what you think on your thoughts on this game. So let's get my first guest on, local to AFC Bournemouth and been covering sports broadcaster. Please welcome Jordan Clark. How you doing, Jordan?
Evening, Kirk. Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And I've seen that you've tweeted already about AFC Bournemouth today ahead of this game, but tell us a little bit more about the coverage you've done for Bournemouth over the years.
Well, coverage-wise, as you said, I've lived in the area my whole life, but coverage-wise, since graduating university really in 2010, it would have been, I've kind of dipped in and out of covering the club in different ways. I'm a freelance broadcaster, so sometimes I end up, covering different teams and working for different stations, but the majority of my work these days is for BBC Radio Solent. So Bournemouth's obviously one of their three main clubs, along with Portsmouth and Southampton. So when Chris Temple is away, you may well hear me dipping in and out of the coverage, and I'll often cover Kevin James, who presents the main show as well, when he goes off for the cricket season. So if I'm not kind of commentating, then I'll be presenting the sports show that Solent do every Saturday and Tuesday night as well. But the club probably a bit further than Solent. I also work for Hot Radio, which is the radio station that used to be based underneath the main stand at Dean Court. So that was when sort of I really started covering the club properly, and that would have been way back in 2012, 2013, I think it was. So a few years now, yeah.
Great stuff. Great to have you on, Jordan. We've had Chris on as well, so that's fantastic to add you to the list. Our next guest for the opposition is CanaryCast. Please welcome Jacob. How you doing, Jacob?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. You well yourself?
Yeah, all good. And just tell us a little bit about what you do for your football club, Norwich City.
Yeah, just do a podcast. Kind of finished it at the back end of the Premier League season, which probably wasn't wise considering we lost it. I think it was like the last 10 in a row. This year's been obviously a lot more enjoyable. And just kind of interacting with fans, getting ex-players on, all of that good stuff, match day reactions, all of that. And it's been enjoyable whilst, we haven't been really able to be in the ground, and it's got a good community together. I'm sure you guys are the same. It's a close-knit kind of community. And yeah, it's just been nice to be able to come on to things like this and be able to talk about football, which this year has just kind of been a bit of a weird one. So football's really been that mainstay, hasn't it? Which has kind of probably kept us all as sane as possible.
And if there is a positive out of COVID, it probably is all these podcasts and YouTubes, etc. And long may that continue. Please make sure if you're watching right now that you give this video a like and also subscribe. We went through our next milestone yesterday, so we really appreciate all the new subscribers and the current ones we have already. Let's get on with the preview, and let's start with the previous match between the teams earlier on in the season. Jacob, it was a 1-0 victory for Bournemouth. Some say it wasn't a great game to watch, but looking back, there was enough chances for both teams to score more goals, or obviously for Norwich to get a goal.
Yeah, back in those times, it was ages ago now, wasn't it? I think third, fourth game of the season. And yeah, we didn't have the likes of Todd Cantwell, Emi Buendia. There's a lot of transfer rumours about the both of them. We did start with Ben Godfrey in that one, who's obviously moved on to Everton. We were disappointing, had a lot of the ball, I remember, especially Dan Juma's goal was probably the main bit of quality in the game. Like you say, apart from that, it was kind of nearly moments. Since then, we've been fantastic, but because of the transfer rumours, I'm sure you guys have been the same with the likes of Brooks and all of your main players that have kind of stayed probably because of COVID, haven't really been having those big transfers that we normally have. Norwich have been a lot better, but this was a disappointing one. And to be fair, we owe you one because we haven't done enough against the top 6 teams this season. And it would be nice, with Norwich only needing 2 points to kind of be on a big occasion on Sky, last game of the day tomorrow. Would be great to win and finally get back up again.
Jordan, Bournemouth did quite well at the start of the season under Tyndall, and Arno Danjuma, a player that doesn't always get credit for stuff that he does off the ball, but at the start of the season he was coming alive and winning these types of football matches with one-off moments and his magic that he has in those feet of his.
Yeah, he certainly was. I think we've always felt it was there, haven't we? And he certainly talks a good game as well, and he's now finally, I think, delivering it on a consistent basis. Obviously, the club saw something in him when they went and found him and brought him in. I can remember speaking to a foreign journalist when he signed. We interviewed him for Solent, and he was, very complimentary of him in terms of what he could produce, but also that, he was quite full of himself. I think not a bad thing for a footballer. He needed to start producing it regularly and not just, in bits and bobs. And he's had his problems with injuries since he's arrived. I think hopefully he's put those behind him now and playing with confidence, and you're really starting to see just how good he is.
Moving forward then to our previous matches for both teams, and AFC Bournemouth played their game against Huddersfield. That was a catch-up game for them away from home, in form, and Philip Billing and Dom Solanke, two players that are throwing some goals and assists in lately, and we got over the line. I don't know how we were hanging on at the end, but a 2-1 victory for AFC Bournemouth on Tuesday night. Jordan.
Yeah, keeps the run going, doesn't it? And keeps that momentum going into what is a huge game tomorrow. I wasn't at the Huddersfield game. I did the match before it at the weekend with Chris, sat alongside for the one. No surprise really to see Bournemouth go to Huddersfield and come away with the 3 points. I actually watched them on TV against Huddersfield as well, so maybe Bournemouth would go there and put a load past them as well. But I guess they were maybe trying to shut up shop a bit more, having conceded 7 against Norwich previously. They weren't going to let it happen again. Yeah, no surprise at all to see them come back with the 3 points and take that momentum into the weekend, which is going to be really important for them. I've watched the highlights back, some decent goals in there as well. Phil Billing again. Where's he come from all of a sudden? Just a change in position. I actually spoke to Jonathan Woodgate about him earlier today, and he was, I think, delighted with the fact that he's moved him into that 10 and he's doing exactly what he said. He spotted as soon as he saw him on the training pitch and what he felt he could do playing further forward, because he's got all the attributes to play there. Not being perhaps tall, which everyone looks at, and strong and physical, but great feet as well. And again, the man we were just talking about, Dan Juma, with another good and tidy finish. So yeah, all in all, got the job done. What you need to do at this stage of the season.
And we'll come to those big hitters in a bit more detail later on. But Jacob, you played away from home at Derby last Saturday. A cracking free kick from what I saw. Got the result that you needed, those 3 points edging you a little bit closer.
Yeah, obviously battered Huddersfield in the midweek, and it was kind of just getting the result over the line against Derby. First half we were dominant, should have been 3-4 up, but second half Derby came on, and what Norwich have done a lot this season is probably not played as brilliantly in parts, being quite equal, but those special moments, like you say, from Kieran Dow in this one particularly, normally from the likes of Emi Buendia, obviously Timu Pukki finishing chances have been enough. We've got enough good players that are better than the good players in the opposition side to beat most teams in this league. And this year we've been very, very good defensively, which is a rarity for Norwich. If you ever watch any Norwich seasons back, defensively we are normally very, very dodgy. But this year we've just been very, very good, with the helps of Grant Hanley being fit for the whole season. A lot of people kind of lazily call him slow and not good on the ball, but he's proved all of that wrong this year. He's a very, very good centre-back at this level. Ben Gibson's been good as well. He'll be injured tomorrow, so he'll come up against Andrew Amoba Madele. Easy for me to say. Only 18, so he might be one to kind of look out for in terms of trying to pick a target, because he's only played 3 games, which against poor opposition haven't really targeted him yet. But no, all in all, we've done just enough this year to kind of, in those close games, edge them and get the important 3 points.
And the head-to-head between the team in the last 6, it looks like Bournemouth edges it, Jordan. I think 3 wins for Bournemouth, 1 draw, 2 wins for Norwich. But let's go back to the last fixture at Carrow Road. That would be a Premier League fixture last season, 1-0. I think we all know what happened on the day, 30 minutes in, and Steve Cook didn't trust Begovic to be a goalie. Thought, I fancy myself to be a goalie, and made a bit of a decision that he probably regrets.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, it was a great save, wasn't it? But not something you'd expect to see your centre-back doing. Certainly not at that stage of the game. I just think when you mention the Norwich games from last season, given the season that Norwich had, I think they're the 2 that you'd look back up for Bournemouth in terms of the relegation and them being so close to survival. There were 2 games they should have taken more from. Just a point out of the 2 for the Cherries. Yeah, probably cost them dearly in the end. So I imagine you feel the same, Kurt, being a big Bournemouth fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was only 5 wins for Norwich all season, Jacob. And when that sending off came and you got a penalty and Pookie put it away, I mean, it couldn't have been a better story for you on the day. I mean, you'd have a player sent off late in the game as well, but there were still chances for both teams, even though it finished 1-0.
Pretty much Norwich last season, to be honest with you, mate. It was we would, give a good account of ourselves, but then give silly chances away. Like you said, I think Wilson had a chance in the first minute. Ryan Fraser caused all sort of issues, and that was just classic Norwich. We got done a lot on the break last season, and silly errors cost us. And then that was before lockdown. After lockdown, I've never watched football as bad. Like, I've watched Sunday League domination, and that was what it was like. We were like League One quality compared to these Premier League sides. We just kind of waved the white flag very early on for those last 10 games, whatever it was. But what has been remarkable this year is how quickly we've changed that momentum from which we were worried about. We thought we could potentially be a mid-table kind of suffering. It helps, obviously, that we have the likes of Buendia, Cantwell, Pookie, all of the main guys really stay, and we've had some smart recruitment as well. But all in all, yeah, in terms of how we've changed that momentum from being really, really like, I've never watched Norwich be so bad, to a very, very good side now is very rewarding, I think, for all the hard work that's been put in behind the scenes.
We'll get into the form of the teams in a minute as well. But Jacob, looking at Daniel Farquhar, I mean, is it a surprise that he kept his job? I mean, were any of the fans ready for him to go? Because it could have been so easy for any football club to release him at that stage.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that to me. Is whenever every podcast I've come on, I would say 99% of Norwich fans, probably 99.9%, knew he wasn't going. Stuart Webber came out after the season, kind of said we took him into battle without a gun, which is exactly what it was. We spent, I think, 7 million, which includes a lot on loans. The biggest permanent transfer was 750k, which was Sam Byram, who was actually quite decent until he got injured. But in terms of the investment we made, it was just a joke, really. We were a couple of years ahead of kind of the plan, and this year looks like it's really the main one now, where we have to kind of go up and cement ourselves a lot better, or at least kind of put on performances a lot better. Than 20th place won't be accepted as much. Funnily enough, Daniel Farquhar's been linked with the likes of Bundesliga clubs, where he has been offered before in his tenure here. But both of them are out of contract, Stuart Webber and Daniel Farquhar, at the end of next season, which is probably when all Norwich fans will have slight breakdowns, because we don't know what on earth we're going to do when they both go. But at the moment, yeah, Daniel Farquhar is the best coach in this league. I think he's shown that with the amount of injuries we've had at times. We've still got a lot of wins, and you just see how far clear we are. It shows that we have the best squad and the best manager in the league this year.
Jordan, what's the difference then between Norwich, who stuck with Daniel Farquhar after a struggling season, to Bournemouth, who got rid of Jason Tindall when they were still in the playoffs?
Yeah, it's intriguing, isn't it? I was speaking to Jonathan Woodgate about it earlier in terms of the difference in the three teams that have come down. You've got Norwich, who've stuck with their manager and they're cruising. You've got Watford, who changed things a lot as well, and it looked like they're going to be going up automatically. And Bournemouth still in the hunt for promotion, but again have changed things. A little bit of continuity there in terms of Tindall, and obviously him being Eddie's assistant. Yeah, just perhaps you can't really, I guess, predict what's going to happen, can you? In terms of what is the best route, what is the best thing to do? No doubt, if Eddie had been there still this season, maybe ball the situation that Norwich are in, but you'll never know. And there's also when you look at what's happened, maybe Eddie would have stayed, and maybe they'd have been in the same position they're in now and wouldn't have gone back up automatically. There's just so many ifs and buts, and no right or wrong formula, I think, to the way that teams do it. Obviously, Norwich have found something that works for them, and they're reaping the rewards of it now. I mean, Woodgate earlier today was very big on giving managers time, perhaps as you expect, someone looking to stay at Bournemouth longer than the end of the season, the contract that he's got at the moment. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'm a big fan of teams that give managers time and let them build something and accept that there are probably going to be bad moments. And maybe Jason Tindall was going through a bad moment and would have come out the other side of it as well, like Jonathan Woodgate is now doing with the team. But you'll just never know, will you? And yeah, I reckon under Woodgate, if they keep playing the way that they are in terms of those sort of 1-0, 2-1 wins, every chance that they'll find themselves back in the Premier League as well. And we'll have all three teams that came down going back up again. But in terms of the difference, exactly why it's happened, Kurt, I couldn't tell you. if you had the answer to that one, you'd be a very rich man.
And this tells you what sort of player Steve Cook is at Bournemouth with Bournemouth fans. 350 appearances up. And instead of getting on his back, Jacob, what a great save. What a great save.
It was a worldie, wasn't it? It was an absolute worldie.
He's a club legend. Okay, let's get into the form of the teams then. Norwich City currently sitting first, 90 points, goal difference plus 37. I think you've had 27 wins. I always say that I think you're prepared for this better than the other two teams that came down because you knew you were getting relegated a lot earlier on. Yeah, I mean, would you agree with that, Jacob?
No, yeah, I do agree. I think before lockdown, there was probably a conversation where we were only, I think it was 5 to 7 points away, which, yeah, if you're talking about automatics, for example, that's a big gap. But when you're down at the bottom, we thought we still had a chance, especially in the fan forum and everything. We weren't that far away. We'd just beaten Leicester 1-0. Jamal Lewis scored an absolute worldie of a finish. And we're thinking if we can just hit that form, we'd knock Tottenham out of the FA Cup. It was just stop the silly errors. And last season, we didn't score enough. It was, I think, 27 goals, which is just not enough. As you know, you guys yourselves kind of reduced in goals year after year under Howe, didn't you? I think going back to the argument about manager, we had the same about 5 years ago. We brought in a youth academy manager, Neil Adams, who's a legend at Norwich, and with us when we got relegated, and he started really well, and then it just dropped off like a stone. And I don't think he had the tools ready for when that drop off comes. He had a great quality of squad. We then brought in Alex Neil, and we went up through the playoffs. So I would imagine Bournemouth will do something very similar this year. It just depends what you then do in the Premier League, because again, whilst it's great to have that momentum in the Championship, when it started going wrong in the Premier League for Alex Neil, it went wrong very quickly and we got relegated again. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, in terms of Norwich, I'm very confident for tomorrow because we need a win. And when Norwich need a win at this stage of the season, with everyone full of confidence, we've been unbeaten in the last 13. I'd expect a really good game, actually, but hopefully Norwich will come up on top.
Norwich, I think, unbeaten in 13, like you just said, conceded only 2 goals. Jordan, Bournemouth 5 unbeaten, scored in 12 of the last games, and I think we've scored in the first half in the last 8. I mean, this is set up for a right, belter of a game.
Yeah, it really is. To be honest, I'm intrigued to see how Jonathan Woodgate approaches it as well. We know Norwich are probably going to see a lot of the ball, aren't they? I imagine. We'll discuss the team news, I think, a little bit later on, but he'll stick with someone like Pearson again instead of Wilshere in the middle of midfield. For me, Bournemouth coming away with a point tomorrow is a good result, but they're going to want to go there and win. They're going to want to go there and, well, a point would do it, of course, but spoil a Norwich promotion party or a potential Norwich promotion party. I hope they go there and carry on, playing the way they have been, and we see 2 teams at the top end of the Championship really going at each other. But I also wonder, and I know it looks unlikely, but whether the job's done for Norwich before you get to kick off as well. If the other 2 that they need, is it Swansea, isn't it, and Brentford drop points and Norwich are already promoted, is what kind of impact that has on the players. And just looking out the corner of my eye, I see Cardiff have gone 1-0 up at Reading as well. So whether that makes Bournemouth a little bit the same. Kickoff times, I think, are going to have a significant impact on the match potentially as well, even though the managers will tell you the players will be fully focused, I'm sure, on just the job at hand for the 90 minutes. We all know that's never really the case, is it?
I was going to say, I wonder if Woodgate's confiscated all the phones just in case they have got their eye on it, and no complacency. Right, we're going to have a bit of fun now, guys. We know there's some serious talent on that pitch tomorrow, but what we're going to do is I'm going to bring up some stats, sort of go through a few players within both teams. And I know you support Norwich, Jacob, and you obviously do a lot of work for Bournemouth, Jordan, but you can only pick one player. If you had like a little dream team, okay, you could only pick one player to go. So what we're going to do is we'll go for the first one, and you can join in as well wherever you're watching right now. Let us know who you think. You'll have to be quick in the chat. Just pick one player. But firstly, let's go to the goalies. All right, you've got Tim Krul, 31 appearances, 17 clean sheets, 40 appearances for Begovic, 15 clean sheets. If you had a dream team, Jacob, which goalie would you pick?
Well, obviously I'm going to be biased. I think Tim Krul's been, again, very good this season. Has, as you can see with the appearances, a couple of injuries which have ruled him out for a few. He's very good, though. Begovic, when I've seen him in clips with Bournemouth, he's also been class. How on earth you've kept a player who's played in the Champions League is now in the Championship, I do not know. But for me, I'd edge Krul. but I can see the argument if Begovic was in there for sure.
Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I find this a difficult one, having not watched a lot of Norwich, but I've kind of leaned towards Begovic, and I'd question whether maybe Tim Krul has had a great deal to do this season because of, that defence in front of him, whereas we know Begovic has kept Bournemouth in games time after time, and if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be in the position in the league they're in. There's been quite a few mistakes at the back, and he's been called into action an awful lot. So I'd probably lean towards Begovic on this one of the two, given the season that he's had.
Obviously, Jacob being a Bournemouth channel, there is going to be some bias here, but that's a difficult one. I mean, I'm going to edge towards Begovic. I just never saw this in Begovic when he came back. I wasn't even expecting him to stay at the club. And he has saved us so many points this season. It's unreal. Picked us points up at Luton. He's been man of the matches more times than a lot of other players, especially earlier on. So let's go to the next one then, and we'll move on to who's next up. Let's have a look. Todd Cantwell, 28 appearances, 6 goals, 4 assists. Philip Billing, 30 appearances, 7 goals, 3 assists. Jacob?
Todd started the season it was like a player who wanted to leave. And he said he's just come out recently with interviews saying his head was a little bit in a unique position because he'd never had that transfer kind of speculation about him. It's interesting, as a kind of local lad, Norwich fans put a hell of a lot more pressure on Todd Cantwell. And if he plays very well, it almost seems like he's doing enough. And if he's anything below that, it's like, come on, Todd, the eccentric long hair, the kind of flamboyant celebrations. He's very different to what any other player at Norwich is. But in the last, especially since the new year, he's been absolutely fantastic. He had a very good campaign in the Premier League last year, scored a lot of goals against the big teams, and performed out of, I never expected him to get to that level. This year, his movement is fantastic. He's improved his finishing at times, like you say, 6 goals. I do like Billing, though. It's like you say, with that number 10, I don't know how on earth Jonathan Woodgate's seen that. Obviously, the height is a thing where you'd never expect him to be the traditional for a big man. He's got a great touch and is very actually brilliant with his movement as well. It's great scissor kick against, I can't remember who it was against, but recently scored as well. Yeah, it was a fantastic goal and helped us actually. Yeah, it was against Swansea, wasn't it? And helped Norwich big time. I would obviously edge for Todd, but Billing is a player that will be very difficult for Ollie Skip to sort out tomorrow. He's been brilliant and one of our players of the seasons for sure. But this is a very different kind of style of player. He's got to mark out the game tomorrow, so it'll be a very good battle.
Jordan, I mean, Todd, I thought struggled in the Premier League last year after having such a good season in the Championship before, but he is starting to put some performances in and he scored a good goal at Sheffield Wednesday. But Philip Billing is a player that I never expected performances and a return that we've got out of him. I never saw this coming all the time I've watched him as a player in the stadium. Now, 7 goals, 6 of them are the first goal in the game. And every time Philip Billing scores, AFC Bournemouth win.
Yeah, I mean, you and me both in terms of being surprised in what we're seeing from Philip Billing. And if we're doing this conversation, having this chat a few months ago, then I'm picking Todd Cantwell easily. I still like Todd Cantwell. I've not seen a lot of him this season. Saw a fair bit of obviously on the television when they're in Premier League last season, but certainly like what I'm seeing him in terms of potential. If you want me to pick based on the here and now, I'm probably going to go with Philip Billing, just because he's playing out of his skin at the moment. And in terms of what Bournemouth are getting from him, it's just a consistency issue, isn't it? We are seeing that now game after game, but it's how long it's going to continue for. You almost feel like there is going to be a point with Billing where it's going to dip away again. Woodgate, again, he was another player I spoke to Woodgate about earlier, based on his form at the moment. I thought it was worth talking to Woodgate about him. And he said, not just about the position, but also he feels the way he's managing him, talking to him, I think, before every game and after every game about what he wants from him, what he's done after the game and how it went. And obviously Philip Billing is responding to that and they're finally starting to get the best out of him. Like we said earlier, he's got everything you want as a footballer. He's just delivering it week after week. Hopefully now he is, but wait and see if it continues. But yeah, based on now for this game, I'd probably be going Billing over Cantwell.
I'm going to back Bill as well because he's been an absolute revelation. But Todd Cantwell is a very good player and I do like Todd Cantwell. 2 more players to come then. This one's going to be a tough one. Give us your brief thoughts on this one. Buendia, 34 appearances, 12 goals, 15 assists. Arnaud Danjuma, 29 appearances, 13 goals, 6 assists, Jacob.
There is no, I know, I respect everyone's opinion in the chat, wherever. There is no comparison with anyone with Emi Buendia. He is the best player the Championship has seen this season, potentially of all time. I'm not being over dramatic. I honestly think he could play for anyone in anywhere. He's been so good, and without him, we would be mid-table, absolute minimum, potentially relegation fodder. I'm not being dramatic. He is just the piece of the jigsaw which completes it all. His movement, his passing. You could watch it. You type Buendia into any YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want to look at it. You watch his clips and you'd be like, how on earth have Norwich to see got him originally, still got him, and why is he not anywhere else? He is incredible. I could talk about him all day, but he is by far, I will not accept anything else. He is the best player in this league, and definitely compared to Danjuma, who is good and obviously was the difference maker in the previous game. Very good player. For me, on the outside, has been kind of fits and starts, but is a player that could have a good potential. But Buendia, for me, is ridiculous and potentially Norwich's best ever player.
Jordan, Arnaud Danjuma, I love the guy. Arnie, he's a brilliant player. He wins football matches in a split second. But those figures on Buendia are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think probably with this one, I'd be going Buendia as well. Maybe, in a year's time, we'll be talking about Danjuma in the same way. I still think he's got that level to reach. So, yeah, probably Buendia on this one. But, I mean, the thing I like about Danjuma is I often feel like when I'm watching him, and we know he drifts in and out of games a bit, but as you say there, he'll pop up at any moment and he can win you a game with a moment of magic. I often feel when I'm watching him and commentating, you kind of know what he's going to do. He's got these set movements that he likes. He likes to come in off the left and take that shot from a tight angle, but still defenders still don't seem to be able to deal with it. And for me, that is a mark of a good player, in that you know exactly what he's going to do, but you still can't handle him. So yeah, maybe in a year's time we'll be talking about Danjuma in the same way, and his numbers may well be the same. But yeah, you probably go with Buendia at the moment, definitely.
Buendia's numbers are ridiculous. I love Arnie, but yeah, he's just blitzing the league this year. Right, last player, 2 strikers, Timur Pukki and Dom Solanke. 37 appearances, 25 goals, 3 assists for Pukki, 36 appearances, 14 goals, 6 for Dom Solanke. Jacob, a player that again struggled in the Premier League last season after having such a good return in the Championship, but he's come back to the Championship and he's done it again. Timur Pukki.
He's been incredible. Again, like you say, first year, 29 goals in the Championship. Everything he hit went in. In the Prem, he started off really well as well. 1 player of the month, scored against Man City. And we was thinking, yes, this guy's going to keep us up. And then Norwich had a real dip. He had a toe injury. And as you'll see with this kind of season, every season he's had at Norwich, he's played a lot of games. We don't really have suitable enough cover for him, which will be a thing we need to really sort in the summer. But again, 25 goals return. It's kind of gone under the radar slightly, and most forwards who score those amount of goals will easily win the likes of Player of the Year from the fans. He's probably not even in the top 3 this year because we expect it of him. He's missed a hell of a lot of chances this year as well. Probably should have about 45 rather than 25. But he's a remarkable forward, and especially at this level, for me, I wouldn't take anyone else.
Jordan, I mean, Dom Solanke came in as the main man when Callum Wilson went out the door, and he's shown that he is an all-rounded striker. I've said he's not a number 9, but his stats are starting to improve lately. 14 goals, 6 assists. He scored for the 2nd consecutive game in his career for the first time since 2015. He's really starting to show what he's all about.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a long way to go, hasn't he, to get those numbers up towards Pukki, but I was not pleased to see Wilson go and King as well. They've been great to watch in a Bournemouth shirt over the years, but part of me was pleased with the fact that it was going to give Solanke a decent chance in the team to show everyone what they thought he was capable of. And yeah, we are starting to see that. The big thing for him is, I mean, you mentioned it there in terms of his position, perhaps, is there's so much more to his game than just goals. And I know everyone will look to the goals, but when you're inside the ground and you get to see some of the work he does off the ball and also his hold-up play, really important, I think, in involving and bringing in lots of the rest of the Bournemouth squad. in terms of their involvement in the game. So it doesn't always transpire into the stats in terms of the work that he's doing on the pitch. But yeah, he still needs to work on that finishing. I think, you know, he gets a few chances as well, often that don't hit the target, which probably should. And again, maybe this season will be the making of him. I'd be intrigued to see after a season in the Championship how he then goes in the Premier League, you know, stepping back up to that level. I think that would be a really interesting thing to see, but hopefully we'll get to see it next season.
I'm going to back Dom. I think he's turned into a player that we were hoping he was going to turn into, but the question mark still sits around the Premier League. And I think the same for Pukki. I think Championship he just owns, and he's done that twice. Jacob, so give us your thoughts on tomorrow's game, then give us a summary and how you think it's going to play out. Will you be celebrating come, you know, full time? And yeah, what's your score prediction?
I think like Jordan was saying, it kind of does hinge on Brentford and Swansea results, really. If Norwich need a result, they are going to be very hungry to go and get it. And like I say, earlier on in the season, we owe you a game after a really poor performance. It will hinge on Buendia in terms of how good he is. Whilst he is brilliant, he can also be stopped in terms of if you kick him enough, he'll want to kick you back. And he's had, I think, 4 red cards over his Norwich career with that kind of South American, Argentinian fire. If you light that up in the right way at the right time, he will try and kick you back. So hopefully he's absolutely fine there. The movement of Pukki, by the way, I just got to say, you'll watch that tomorrow. That is Premier League class. And if he doesn't always finish, if he's not the quickest, his movement is absolutely sublime. Again, Amoba Madele against a good team for the first time will be really interesting. Only 18, but has not put a single foot wrong. Hasn't even given away a foul in the last 3 games, which is remarkable for a centre-back coming in. He's big, he's tall, he's aggressive, and he's quick as well. So that's really interesting. It all relies on if Norwich need the points, I back them to get them because they've done it more than enough times. Like you say, 27 wins. I think 3 or 4 more than anyone else in the league this season. I know Bournemouth are on good form, but I back us.
Jacob, really appreciate you coming on. If you want to check out Jacob's channel and what he does for Norwich, all the details are in the description. Good luck for tomorrow, Jacob, and for the rest of the future.
Yeah, cheers, mate. I'll wish you both the best of bad luck for tomorrow. Hopefully we can edge it. And yeah, but like to see you up in the playoffs and best of luck with it all, really.
Excellent. I'll catch you later. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, sorry about that, John. So basically, we had the press conference earlier on then with Jonathan Woodgate. He said that he's got a pretty full squad to pick from apart from Lewis Cook. We know Shane Long's got a slight injury, but you break that news to us on Twitter, Jordan, that he's quite happy and he's wanting to go there to win the football match.
Yeah, so just Shane Long with a slight groin injury, I think is how he described it. So he'll have a late fitness test. That's not going to be a huge worry to him. Nice to have him to call upon on the bench if he needs him, but he's not been featuring a great deal of late, has he? And then obviously just the long-term Lewis Cook. And yeah, I said, are you going there to upset the promotion party? How much of a motivation will you use that as for the players? Because again, you know what these managers are like. They'll tell you, no, we're just ignoring that. We're only focusing on ourselves. But in fairness to Jonathan Woodgate, he said, yeah, it will be a motivator. It will be one of many things he's mentioning to his players ahead. It's going to be tough to call tomorrow, I think. Naturally, Norwich are going to be confident going into it. But, you know, Bournemouth's form at the moment is going to be a big factor. I just look at their record, which, again, is incredible in itself, considering they've got or had no supporters inside the stadium this season. Just 1 defeat, and that was way back towards the start of the season against Derby. I was looking at the goals, so just 10 goals conceded there. The only team to score more than 1 was Preston in a 2-2 draw, and that was Norwich's first home game of the season. No one's been able to score more than a goal there since. That tells you it's going to be very close either way, I think. Maybe Bournemouth could be the first team to go there and find the back of the net 3 times. So they've certainly got the firepower up front and the form players in those areas to go and get something. Still think coming away with a point tomorrow will be a great result.
Well, in the final part of the show, we take a look at what the predicted team might be and who Jonathan Woodgate might pick. Let's do this. Let us know your thoughts in the chat if you agree or disagree with the lineup we're going to go with and try and predict what Jonathan Woodgate will do. We've set it up sort of already with Begovic in goal, Adam Smith, Carter Vickers, Steve Cook and Lloyd Kelly. I don't see that back four and the goalie being disturbed. Jordan, would you agree with that?
No, I think you're spot on. It's looking settled. It's looking confident. The two centre backs are working really, really well together. Love what I've seen from Cameron Carter-Vickers since he's come into the sides. And yeah, I guess I spoke to Lloyd Kelly earlier. He seems to have really found some form and confidence of late, and is working nicely with Danjuma down the left. So you're not going to change that there. Stacey maybe in terms of an option for Smith, but no, I can't see it changing. I think it will be as it was.
I get the feeling the Woodgate's a big, massive fan of Jeff Lerma, always speaks highly of him during press conferences, but a talking point might be between Ben Pearson and Jack Wilshere. They do seem to alternate those two players, but generally Jack Wilshere plays at home and Pearson plays away. Do you expect Ben Pearson to start again tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it will be Pearson tomorrow for that very reason. As you said, it does appear that Jonathan Woodgate has a home team and an away team, certainly in terms of those central midfielders, and he likes what Pearson offers. And Pearson chipping in with a couple of assists lately as well. 3 assists, I think it's been, hasn't it? So a lot more to his game than just that, tough tackling nuisance in the middle of midfield. I reckon it will be Pearson and Lerma. Perfect game for those two.
Interestingly as well, that Ben Pearson, in all his appearances since he signed for the club, the 4 he hasn't come off the bench or started, we've lost every game. And that's interesting. Now, a position that might be up for contention is Brooks and Stanislas. I don't see Danjuma, Billing or Solanke being disturbed, but could potentially Stanislas come in for Brooks tomorrow?
I think he'll go with Brooks unless he's got any concerns over the amount of games he's playing, in his fitness, obviously, having come back from another bad injury. If you've got Brooks available and you're confident in how he's going to cope with going from the start, then for me, Brooks is in the team, even though Stanislas has had such a great season. But again, you've got those concerns over his fitness, and obviously coming back from illness as well. Maybe he'll just have a better impact off the bench if they need him. So yeah, I would go with Brooks, and I think it's probably going to be an unchanged team tomorrow.
And if Billing scores, AFC Bournemouth win. Keep that in your mind, guys. So that's our predicted lineup for tomorrow. We'll find out at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening who Jonathan Woodgate has picked, but that's the one we've gone for. So let us know your thoughts. And if you're not watching this live and you're catching up on YouTube, let us know in the comments if you agree with that or who you would change. This is your opportunity then. Great preview as we get towards this fixture in about 24 hours time. Opportunity to give your prediction in the chat, so get your score predictions in there and let us know what you think. We'll just have a quick look at that table, Jordan, while the score predictions are going in. I think Reading have drawn 1-1.
Finished 1-1, yeah, just as I look over my shoulder at the TV screen.
So hopefully, as we just talked about, there is no complacency and we still treat that game as any other, and that there's still an opportunity that we could throw this away. But I mean, it's looking very nice now for AFC Bournemouth.
Yes, I mean, that cushion down to 4 points, so a chance to extend it with a win after Reading have dropped points this evening. That was another thing I spoke to Lloyd Kelly about actually today. Is a 5-point cushion, as it was at the time, is a great thing to have, but it probably brings its dangers with it as well, in terms of maybe players getting a little bit comfortable and complacent on that cushion. So yeah, you just got to put it to one side and wait until the job's done, basically. But again, that's got to be some motivation for Bournemouth tomorrow, as well as spoiling a Norwich party, but a chance to open up an even bigger gap given this evening.
Talking about Lloyd Kelly, I mean, you've had a conversation with their pre-match. I mean, a player that came in to cover Ake, and we were just so surprised with how well he settled in, even though we still got relegated. He was one of the outstanding players of that post-lockdown, matches. Then he sort of had spells in and out the team this season, centre back, left back, and struggled. But really, recently, he cemented that left back place and arguably could have been man of the match on Tuesday. And is he high in confidence at the moment?
Yeah, very high in confidence, and I think you can see that in his performance, can't you? At the moment, he's settled in. He spoke in great detail, actually, and I imagine we'll play some of it out on the air on BBC Radio Solent tomorrow, but about that relationship he has with Danjuma down the left-hand side and how much he was enjoying that. It seems to me that they almost have this kind of telepathic understanding based on what Lloyd Kelly was saying, in terms of they know what each other wants to do. They know what their strengths are. They've worked that out over the past few weeks. And Kelly said he's very sort of I guess, focused on just letting Danjuma do his things at times when he's one-on-one with defenders and staying well out of the way and giving him the space to do that, but then also knowing when he needs to step in and provide that support for him down the left-hand side. And yeah, I was keen to try and get out of him what Woodgate wants from him as well, in terms of, because we know Woodgate's big on defending and, you know, keeping it tight at the back, but does he want him flying down the wing, Charlie Daniels style, you know, getting ahead of Danjuma? And Kelly said, yeah, he's been told to do that. Basically, Woodgate just wants him up and down the whole match, yeah, pretty much non-stop. And he feels like he's getting close to achieving, I think, what the manager wants from him. And yeah, we're seeing that in his performances at the moment. I honestly thought maybe it would, you know, it'd be centre-back that we'd see him at the most this season. But given the position for Bournemouth in terms of left backs, yeah, not disappointed at all to see him make that position his own now and hopefully grow into it even more.
Maybe listen out for that then on Solent tomorrow. But that is really interesting because we talked about partnerships earlier on in the season and we thought there was a lack of it. And the last time we were in the Championship, we had a lot of partnerships, and especially down that left wing, we had Charlie Daniels and Mark Pugh. So something is clicking there, and Lloyd Kelly's playing very well. Let's get your score predictions out there then for tomorrow. Hope you've enjoyed your evening and hope you had a good day tomorrow before the game. We've got Daniel in the USA. How you doing? 1-0. Billing. When he scores, we win. 2-1 to Bournemouth, Billing and Dom. We've also got no Cook goal. 2-1, 1-1. Got a couple of draws in there. 1-1. An away win. 2-1. 3-2 to Bournemouth. 3-1's back. That's a famous 3-1, that one. 1-0. 2-1. Some positive Bournemouth fans out there, Jordan. And as you said, 3-2 as well in there. A draw is not a bad result now. It wasn't a bad result anyway, really.
No, it never was going away to Norwich, as we said, mentioned their record earlier and the situation that they find themselves in this season. Yeah, you know, if you probably offered Jonathan Woodgate a point now, he'd tell you he wouldn't take it. He was going there for the win, but privately, I would imagine he'd be pretty pleased to come away with a point tomorrow. But I still think they can go there and sneak. It's going to be very close. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in it. So those, you know, 1-0s, 2-1s, I think, yeah, that could be what we're looking at. Saying that, you know what it's like when we predict things like that. It'll probably be 5-4 or something silly now. Fingers crossed, eh?
It's one of those, isn't it? You look at the two, you know, we've gone through those stats and the players that are going to be on the pitch, and it could go either way. It could be an absolute belter, or they could just cancel each other out. Yeah,
completely that. I'm hoping for the absolute belters. I'm going to be there standing in for Chris commentating. But then usually when he's not here, it does turn into those 0-0, 1-1 drab, boring draws or, you know, narrow wins either way. So I'm sure I'll probably be in line for one of those again now that he's chosen to be away for the Norwich game in particular.
So big day ahead of you as well then, Jordan. Then Tom says, big thanks to Radio Solent. I don't live down the south anymore and can say other local radio stations. So appreciate the coverage and everything that you, Chris and Willow and everyone does for us. We really appreciate that. I'm going for a 1-1, take a draw, and let's get ready for the playoffs because it's in our hands. So what have we got going on tomorrow then, guys? Thank you for everyone who's joined us. We've got lineups live at 7:15, 45 minutes before kickoff. And we'll also have a post-match review out after the game. Check that out about an hour after the game. So it will be about 11 p.m, but you can view it on Sunday as well. Jordan, really appreciate that. Hope you have a brilliant day tomorrow and hopefully it all goes well for you.
Thank you, Kurt. Cheers for having me on, and for those kind words as well. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you also to CanaryCast, and thank you to you, as I just said this evening. Tomorrow, there are two teams on two different roads, but we're chasing the same destination. That's the Premier League. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you on the next video. Up the Cherries.